Hey guys, it is indeed Wok Wednesday. I'm Jeremy from School of Wok Covent Garden, and this week it's Mie Ayam. It's actually a noodle soup, but with a stir-fried chicken on top. From Indonesia, Wok Wednesdays, here we go. We're going to start with the soup. I've got our freshly made chicken stock over here just bubbling away, and we're just going to really simply season it with some ginger, Thai shallots and some garlic. The ginger I would peel, but everything else I'm just going to keep the skins on, and I'll sort of fish those out later on before I finish off the noodle soup. Take the peel off just because it can be a little bit bitter. I don't mind large chunks of ginger. You can go straight into the soup. And then the garlic cloves and Thai shallots. Garlic cloves, just bash a little and straight in. Thai shallots I will cut in half, but just leave the skins on. They've got a lot of flavour in the skins as well, so I don't mind just keeping this really, really simple. There's a fair amount to do. I've got some meatballs to make, so I've got some pork meatballs and then a stir-fried chicken to go on top as well. So I just want that soup to bubble away for as long as it can go, and we'll season it later on. The meatballs, I'm kind of going for a homemade version of a processed meatball. So I want them to be quite dense and meaty. I've got very simple seasoning here. So some finely chopped Thai shallots with some pork mince, and then a couple of pinches of salt, a little bit of white pepper, and some corn flour. And I'm going to give that a good mix through. That corn flour should bind it together a little bit more. I don't want it to be gritty, so I'm going to use the traditional Chinese dumpling technique of making a smooth meatball. And that is, once it's all together, just cup your hand, pick it up, and then throw it back into the bowl. Okay. You want to do this 10 to 15 times, and you'll get a nice smooth patty. You've got to hear that sound. So you can see now I've got this nice smooth patty with no air. It should tenderize the meat, but also knock all the air out between the sort of gaps of the minced pork. So we're going to make meatballs out of this. I'm just going to get some water. The water just to rub around your palms will help to then form the meatballs easily. Don't want them too big. This is only a small amount of pork, so enough for probably 2 or 3 bowls of noodle soup. With that corn flour and that sort of beating, it actually feels a little bit like sausage mince. So I've got my meatballs ready to go. Next, onto the stir fry. So my chicken stir fry, Indonesian style, so I've got ketchup, mayonnaise, and quite thick, treacly sauces. So I'm going to just season up the chicken first. You can use chicken thigh or chicken breast, whichever you wish. So a bit of ginger and garlic, finely chopped. A little pinch of salt into the chicken. Not much more required than that. Give that a good mix round. I've kept some ginger and garlic back for the stir fry. And I want about a teaspoon or so of corn flour. Gives it a slight creaminess in texture around the chicken. Also helps the ginger and garlic stick to the chicken better. So my chicken ready to go. Now the nice thing about cooking a noodle soup or any sort of soup like this is that you've got your chicken stock rolling away anyway, so I can kind of ladle into that when I need a bit of liquid for my stir fry. And as I said, this is a sort of 2 or 3 textured noodle soup dish. We've got our meatballs, which I'll boil away in a second. And then we've got our stir fry chicken breast here. And then I've also got some poached and shredded chicken. That's literally just chicken thigh that's been poached in the chicken stock and then shredded out. I'm going to use that almost like a garnish at the end. So that's going to go later on. Stir fry, here goes. It's one of those things that you can order on the streets of Indonesia. It's almost like a buffet of different bits of meat that you can just add to your noodle soup. Of course, if you're cooking at home, slightly more complex, but each component is actually quite simple to make. Ginger and garlic, stir fry that gently. You don't want that to burn, so as it starts to brown, push that to the back and get your chicken in. I've got way more chicken than I need for one bowl of noodles, but yeah, I've got to cook for the team too. So sear that chicken nicely. If you feel like you need a little bit more oil, feel free to add just round the edge. As long as the wok's hot enough, that'll pick that up nicely. The corn flour around there will brown the piece of chicken quite quickly. In Southeast Asia, the soy sauce, or ketchup manis, it's not ketchup as in tomato ketchup. Ketchup manis is essentially a dark caramelized soy sauce. That's going to be the main component of this, of the flavour that goes into this stir fry. It also colours the chicken really nicely. Once the liquid goes in, the chicken will steam through quite quickly. You do want to sear it nicely first. Just going to sieve out my soup whilst we're going. Take all those extra bits of shallots and ginger out so my soup's nice and clear and ready for my meatballs. Getting a good smoky flavour off the bottom of the wok now. And you'll see the ketchup manis, that treacly texture will caramelise really quickly around the chicken. Some oyster sauce, not too much, about a tablespoon of oyster sauce, and then some mushroom stir-fry sauce as well if you have it. Not 100% essential. Give that a flick through first. Whoa, look at that. Looks great as it is. Just take a little bit of your chicken stock, and that's going to have loads of flavour in it already. On a high heat, before it starts to burn, straight round the wok. Whilst that's bubbling away, my meatballs can go straight in to my boiling stock. They'll take about 3 or 4 minutes to cook up. Let them come to a boil, and then once they're cooked, they should start to float to the top of that soup. The only thing I'd need to do with this soup, whilst this chicken is cooking away, is just season it up. I've got some fish sauce and palm sugar. Traditionally, we'd sweeten the soup up with some sugar cane, but it's not really that accessible all over the world, so palm sugar will work fine. A few teaspoons of fish sauce, a couple of teaspoons of palm sugar. Just check my stir fry. Don't want to overcook this chicken. Give it another 30 seconds to a minute, and those thicker pieces will be cooked through. That chicken looks kind of like a black bean chicken. It's done. Lastly, a bit of veg garnish more than anything. So pak choy, especially if you slice it into sort of quarters or eighths like this, cooks very, very quickly. Spring onion will work well with my chicken garnish. So I've got some fried shallots here as well. And I'm making up my garnish ready to place on top of the noodles. Meanwhile, my meatballs are floating nicely. So I'm going to take those out of the soup. My soup's ready. My noodles just need warming up. They've been soaked in hot water for about 4 to 5 minutes already. So it only needs about a minute on the boil, and then those noodles will be ready to serve. Noodles, you don't want to overcook them, so 1 minute will do. Pak choy into the soup for the last couple of minutes. So I've got my ginger and garlic stir-fried chicken, a few of these meatballs. To satisfy the balance on the plate, a couple of chunks of pak choi, or you could use choy sum or gailan. And lastly, your stock or your soup. So your Indonesian meat noodle buffet, Mie Ayam. The soup is really light. And those meatballs, really, really simple, but great texture. I'm just going to go through each piece here. Get a little bit of that crispy shallot. Now I can see why this dish is so popular in Indonesia. So all the different textures and that balance of texture from all the different types of meat. Definitely one for after exercise, but delicious. I could eat that over and over again. If you like this type of recipe, guys, and you want to learn more just like this Mie Ayam, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like all of our social media channels.